Lily Harper thought she was meeting a friend. Ethan Crawley thought he was just another student caught in a storm. Brian Keller knew exactly what he was doing, and by the time anyone realized it, one was dead, another accused, and a killer was hiding behind a screen name. What began as harmless snaps led to a terrifying web of lies, manipulation, and murder in a case that would shock an entire town. Lily Harper's disappearance began like so many others, quietly, with just a flicker of unease. On the afternoon of September 9th, she left her family's tidy, two-story home in Maple Grove, Minnesota, planning to meet a friend at a coffee shop less than a mile away. She never made it. At first, no one panicked. Maybe she stopped to take photos, something she did often. Maybe she lost track of time. Her parents texted her. No reply. Her friends messaged her on Snapchat. Still nothing. Then her location stopped updating, and her Snap score didn't move. That's when the unease became fear. Lily was 17. Bright, funny, and curious. She had a deep love for photography and was constantly capturing moments, sunsets, friends laughing in the hallway, quiet streets in the early morning. Her favorite platform was Snapchat. It allowed her to share glimpses of her world in real time, without the pressure of permanence. She used it often, not just for posting but for staying connected. Her parents knew this. Her friends knew this. So when her story suddenly stopped, it wasn't just silence. It was a warning. By evening, her parents contacted the police. Officers responded quickly, canvassing the neighborhood, questioning friends, and checking nearby businesses for security footage. No one had seen her. Her last known appearance was caught on a neighbor's doorbell camera at 3:42 p.m. She walked, alone, headphones in, phone in hand, wearing a denim jacket and carrying her camera bag. There was no indication of distress, no one following her. Then she vanished. The first real clue came from her Snapchat story. Just one post, timestamped at 3:58 p.m., blurry and unsettling. It showed a photo of a suburban street, familiar, quiet, almost empty. The lighting was strange, as if the sun had been filtered through something. The caption read, "He's here." That was all. No explanation. No follow-up. Just those two words and the strange, uneasy image. Investigators pored over the image. They checked the location metadata. Nothing. Snapchat didn't store it. They showed the photo to neighbors and friends, but no one could identify the exact spot. Still, the caption haunted them. "He's here." Who was he? Was it someone Lily knew? Someone she'd been expecting? Or someone she feared? Her phone stopped transmitting data shortly after. It was either turned off or destroyed. Police requested her Snapchat account data, but most of her messages were already gone, erased, by the app's disappearing message feature. Still, they managed to access some fragments, including her friend list and a record of who had messaged her in the days leading up to her disappearance. That's when they noticed a strange pattern. Among the usernames was one that stood out. Shadowwalker23. It was a private account with no visible snaps, no Bitmoji avatar, and no mutual friends. It had been added only a few weeks earlier. Friends said Lily had mentioned someone new she'd been talking to online, someone who liked photography and had complimented her work. At the time, it hadn't seemed strange. Snapchat friendships formed quickly, often without any real-world connection. But now, with her missing and a cryptic message left behind, it felt sinister. The more they dug, the more disturbing things became. Lily had exchanged dozens of snaps with Shadowwalker23 in the week before she disappeared. The user asked detailed questions about where she lived, when she went out, and what gear she used. The tone of the messages, those few that were recovered, shifted. Subtly over time. Friendly curiosity became obsession. Then control. Then threats her parents hadn't known. Lily had kept the conversations private. To them, she was the same vibrant daughter who sat at the dinner table, made sarcastic jokes, and dreamt about studying art after high school. But beneath the surface, she had been drawn into something she couldn't quite escape. Something she may not have even fully understood. As the hours passed, Maple Grove held its breath. Posters went up. Volunteers gathered. Helicopters flew overhead. But Lily was still missing. Somewhere, out there, a digital thread had been pulled, and whatever was on the other end had decided it was time to act. Lily's digital life became the center of the investigation. With no physical clues beyond her final Snapchat post, police turned to her online activity in search of answers. Her Instagram showed nothing unusual, just pictures of flowers, school events, and snapshots with friends. Her TikTok was inactive, but Snapchat held secrets that couldn't be ignored. It was the last platform she had used, and the last trace of her came from it. Investigators requested a data release from Snapchat, but they knew it would be limited. The platform's self-deleting messages and strict privacy policies made recovering information difficult. Still, a partial data log showed the username ShadowWalker23 had been in frequent contact with Lily in the days before she vanished. This account was a ghost. It had been created only weeks earlier, with no verifiable information attached. No phone number, no email trace, no linked contacts. Whoever was behind it had gone to great lengths to remain invisible. Even the IP addresses were masked by a VPN. However, screenshots saved by Lily's best friend, Emily, offered a chilling glimpse into the communication. Emily had become concerned after noticing how much time Lily was spending on her phone, especially at night. A few days before Lily disappeared, she had taken screenshots of parts of their chat, not because she suspected anything dark, but because she thought Lily might be falling for a stranger. The screenshots showed a subtle descent. The conversation started light, filled with compliments and playful jokes. Then the tone began to shift. ShadowWalker23 started asking more personal questions. What time Lily usually left the house, where she liked to take photos, whether she ever went places alone. He complimented her on her bravery, saying how cool it was that she walked around town with her camera. At first, Lily seemed flattered. Then, the messages became more possessive. He told her not to talk to other guys, said he watched her stories more closely than anyone else, and sent cryptic messages like, "I know the real you." The last screenshot Emily had captured was dated 2 nights before Lily disappeared. It read, "You'll see me soon. Don't tell anyone." As chilling as the digital trail was, it wasn't enough. Investigators needed more than a username and deleted messages. They widened the search, analyzing Lily's phone records and Wi-Fi usage. They traced her route on the day she vanished, using any available surveillance footage. Unfortunately, there were few cameras in that part of town, and the one that captured her walking had no clear view of anyone else. Still, the fact that her story had ended so abruptly, right after that final photo, suggested she had met someone that day. Someone she likely believed was safe. Someone she'd been speaking to on Snapchat. The town began to grow restless. Rumors spread across schools and social media. Some believed Lily had run away. Others whispered about a serial predator using fake accounts to lure girls. The police tried to quiet the panic, but the lack of answers made it impossible. Parents became more protective. Teens deleted Snapchat or made their accounts private. But the fear lingered. Then, in a chilling turn, another girl from a nearby school came forward. She had also received messages from someone using the name ShadowWalker23. The messages were similar: flattery, compliments, curiosity about her life. When she stopped responding, the user grew cold and aggressive, accusing her of being a liar. She blocked him. That had been 2 weeks before Lily's disappearance. This revelation changed everything. Now, it was clear that this wasn't a one-time interaction. Whoever ShadowWalker23 was, he had a pattern. He targeted girls with public profiles, pretended to share their interests, and slowly pulled them into private conversations. He was patient, careful, and knew how to manipulate young minds. With a clearer profile of the suspect, investigators worked with Snapchat and cybersecurity experts to find any trace of the account's origin. Every deleted message, every login, every pixel of that last blurry photo was examined. Somewhere in Lily's digital footprint was the key to finding out who was behind the screen, and whether he had done this before 0.6 days after Lily Harper disappeared. The quiet town of Maple Grove was rocked by a gruesome discovery. A jogger, cutting through a wooded trail on the outskirts of town, stumbled upon something that made him stop cold. Just off the path, partially covered by leaves and broken branches, was the lifeless body of a teenage girl. Police arrived within minutes and quickly secured the scene. It was Lily. Her parents were notified hours later. The heartbreak they had feared but tried to suppress became real. Lily had been found, but not the way anyone had hoped. The scene was grim. Lily's body showed signs of a struggle. Bruises on her arms and dirt under her fingernails suggested she had fought hard. She had been strangled. Her camera, always slung across her shoulder, was gone. Her phone was found nearby with a shattered screen, buried beneath some loose soil, as if someone had tried to hide it but didn't finish the job. The area was combed for evidence. A torn piece of black fabric was found tangled in a bush clothes. To the body. Investigators also discovered faint boot prints, men's size 11, leading from the body back toward a nearby trail entrance. Forensic teams began their work immediately. Lily's autopsy confirmed the time of death, likely the same night she disappeared. She had not been kept alive or moved between locations. The killer had lured her, met her, and ended her life in the same area. There were no obvious signs of sexual assault and no DNA under her fingernails, which led detectives to believe the killer had worn gloves. The lack of identifiable DNA, combined with the broken phone and missing camera, pointed to someone meticulous, someone who had prepared. A few days later, the investigation took a sudden turn when a suspect emerged. 17-year-old Ethan Crawley, a classmate of Lily's and fellow member of the photography club, was brought in for questioning. He had known Lily for years, though they weren't close. But what raised red flags was the discovery of black fabric in the trunk of his car, fabric nearly identical to the piece found near Lily's body. He also happened to own size 11 boots, and police noticed faint scratches on his arms during the interview. Though he denied any involvement, he couldn't explain the scratches or the fabric. His alibi for the afternoon Lily disappeared was shaky, and surveillance footage showed his car near the trail entrance that evening. He was arrested on suspicion of murder. The town was stunned. Ethan was soft-spoken, shy, and always kept to himself. Some thought he was odd, but no one ever suspected he could be dangerous. His arrest offered a strange sense of closure. The community mourned Lily while beginning to process the possibility that the danger had been within their circle all along. But something didn't feel right. Investigators continued their digital search, digging deeper into the activity of the Snapchat account, ShadowWalker23. The logs didn't match anything on Ethan's phone. His Snapchat history showed no messages with Lily, no deleted accounts, no hidden chats. His browsing history and app data also failed to reveal any use of VPNs or fake accounts. The more they examined his digital footprint, the less sense his involvement made. Meanwhile, forensic experts analyzed the black fabric further. It matched the type used in a certain kind of tactical glove, commonly available online. But it also turned out that the fabric from Ethan's car had trace elements that weren't consistent with the one found in the woods. It had been planted. Someone had gone to great lengths to make Ethan look guilty. The scratches on his arms? From a fall he took during a hike, confirmed by a friend's text messages and photos. His car near the scene? He lived just a mile from the woods and often parked there to take photos. The case against Ethan collapsed. Within a week, he was released. Investigators were forced to admit they had focused too narrowly, too quickly. The real killer was still out there, and whoever it was had not only taken Lily's life but had almost succeeded in destroying another. In the process, after Ethan Crawley was released, the investigation into Lily Harper's murder entered a new and more urgent phase. The pressure on local authorities intensified. The media turned its attention back to the elusive figure behind the Shadow Walker 23 account, and public confidence in the police began to erode. People wanted answers. The killer was still free, and worse, he had nearly gotten away with framing an innocent teenager. The digital trail had to be revisited, and this time, investigators brought in outside help. A digital forensics expert named Kayla Voss, who had experience in cyberstalking cases, joined the task force. His team specialized in tracking anonymous users, even those who used VPNs and deleted messages. Caleb started with the Snapchat logs, going deeper than the local team had managed. While most of the metadata had been erased or obscured, he located a tiny clue in one of the screenshots Emily had saved, specifically, the screenshot of the message that said, "You'll see me soon. Don't tell anyone." Embedded deep in the file's metadata was a residual server ping that had not been stripped away. It was a technical oversight, almost invisible, but it contained a partial IP signature. Using this fragment, Caleb traced the signal across several proxy servers, until he reached a partial location in a neighboring town. From there, the digital trail led to a man named Brian Keller, 31 years old, no criminal record, worked as an IT consultant for a private security firm, lived in a neat house on the edge of White Pine, about 30 miles from Maple Grove. On the surface, Brian was completely ordinary. But when police checked his online footprint, a darker image emerged. Brian had created at least 6 Snapchat accounts in the past year, all under different aliases, all deleted after brief activity. His internet history showed hours spent on forums about social engineering, digital anonymity, and surveillance tactics. Most disturbingly, a search of missing persons databases revealed 3 other unsolved disappearances of young girls from nearby counties, all of whom had last communicated with strangers online. Lily wasn't his first victim. She was just the first to leave behind a clue. With a warrant in hand, police searched Brian's home. The front of the house was spotless, almost sterile. But behind a locked basement door, they found what they had feared. A windowless room lined with corkboard, photos, notes, and maps. Clippings from newspapers. Printouts of Snapchat conversations. Surveillance stills taken from afar. In the center of the room was Lily's missing camera. It still had her name, written on the inside flap. Alongside it were hard drives, notebooks, and several burner phones. The evidence was overwhelming. Every detail had been documented. Brian didn't just stalk his victims, he studied them. He knew their schedules, their social circles, even the times of day they were most active online. He used Snapchat as bait, tailoring each fake profile to mirror his target's interests. Once contact was made, he moved quickly to establish trust, always careful not to reveal too much. He used voice filters and disguised video clips when asked to show his face. He encouraged secrecy, flattering his victims for being mature enough to keep things between them. He had perfected the illusion under interrogation, Brian confessed. Calmly, almost like it was routine. He admitted to targeting Lily because she reminded him of someone from his past. He claimed he never intended to kill her, only to meet her. But when she resisted and tried to run, he panicked. It was a lie, of course. The setup, the gloves, the planted evidence on Ethan, it was all calculated. He had planned everything, and if not for a single technical mistake, he might never have been found. The confession brought answers but also devastation. The community now faced the truth. The predator hadn't come from within their town but had been watching them from just beyond their borders. And he had been so close to vanishing without a trace. Brian Keller's arrest made headlines across the country. The case was chilling not just because of what he had done, but how carefully and methodically he had done it. He wasn't some impulsive criminal or unhinged stalker. He was deliberate, calculating, and terrifyingly patient. What unsettled many was how invisible he had been. A man with no record, no history of violence, and no behavior that would raise red flags. But beneath the surface, he had been hunting, watching, waiting, and all he needed to carry out his crimes was an internet connection, a fake name, and an app that erased messages by default. The community of Maple Grove mourned Lily Harper's death, but her story had sparked a much larger conversation. Parents began monitoring their children's online activities more closely. Schools held assemblies warning students about the dangers of anonymous users and the illusion of safety on platforms like Snapchat. Lily's parents, still reeling from their loss, chose to speak publicly. They appeared on national talk shows and news programs, not just to share their grief but to raise awareness. They launched the Lily Harper Foundation to educate teens on online safety and push for legal reform, especially around the data privacy protections that often shield predators more than victims. Brian's trial revealed even more disturbing details. Forensic analysis of his hard drives uncovered communication records with other girls, some of whom hadn't even realized they'd been targeted. They had chatted, blocked him, and moved on, never suspecting that someone was following them in. The shadows. Investigators linked Brian to 2 other unsolved disappearances, cases that were once thought to be runaways. Each one followed the same pattern: digital friendship, increasing secrecy, then vanishing without a trace. The evidence in Lily's case became the thread that unraveled them all. The courtroom was packed throughout the trial. Journalists, families, victims' advocates, all watched as prosecutors detailed the digital traps Brian had laid. They showed screenshots, chat transcripts, and even step-by-step notes Brian had written in a private document titled Sessions. It wasn't just sick, it was organized. He had ranked potential targets by vulnerability, created backstories for each fake profile, and tracked how long it took to gain their trust. When asked why he did it, Brian gave no real answer. Just a blank stare and the words, "Because I could." He was found guilty on multiple counts, including first-degree murder, kidnapping, and online predation. The judge called it one of the most disturbing cases he had ever seen and sentenced Brian Keller to life in prison without the possibility of parole. There was no applause, just silence, relief, and the weight of what had been lost. Lily's story stayed in the national spotlight for months. Documentaries were made. Articles were written. Lawmakers introduced new bills aimed at improving law enforcement's access to encrypted or self-deleting communication in special cases. While many debates followed, one truth remained clear: technology had changed the rules. The people we invite into our lives through screens are not always who they say they are, and the consequences can be devastating. For Maple Grove, the pain never fully went away. But something changed. People paid more attention. Teens became more cautious. The Snapchat generation, once defined by vanishing messages and fleeting moments, was suddenly forced to confront the permanence of real danger. Lily's final post, just a blurry street and 2 words, became symbolic. It had been overlooked at first, almost dismissed. But in the end, it was the clue that led to justice. Her digital trail, though brief, had burned bright enough to expose a killer. And in doing so, it saved others from falling into the same trap. Even in her silence, Lily had spoken. And people had finally listened.